Not a War by Silurine. Chapter 6. It had been a month and a half since the first time Magda and Bailiks had spent the night together. The first night, she had been worried that he would let her down. That he just wanted to satisfy the kinds of needs he couldn't satisfy aboard the spaceship. But the next day, he was waiting for her at the farm, and the day after, and every day, except when he was on duty at the camp. Over these weeks, Magda has introduced Bailiks to Emily and Annalise, and the four of them used to spend some time together after work at the tavern. Sometimes old Nihil would join the conversation and tell them stories of his long life. Every so often, Bailiks and Magda would skip her work at the tavern for more interesting activities, implying both of their bodies naked in her bed or the hay in the barn. Magda was happy, but she knew her happiness was coming to an end soon. In 2 weeks, Bailiks would have to leave this planet. He would probably never come back. He would die somewhere far away from her. She knew it, and there was nothing she could do about it. This evening, she was skipping the tavern once again. They were lying in their usual spot, hidden in a barn. They were resting after their interesting activities. Magda thought that she would never be used to that, to the sensations, the excitement, the feelings. Every time was better than the last. It was in these moments that she knew he loved her, even though he had never said it. But tonight, she was tensed. She had something important to tell him, but didn't know how to bring it up. Bailiks was lying on his back, arms behind his head. Magda's head was resting on his chest. He wasn't really talkative, so usually she tried to make him speak. But she was wondering how to bring up the important topic she had to discuss with him. Instead, she decided to go for mindless chit-chat. "You're so tall," she said. "I wonder how it feels to be so tall." He woke up from his daydreaming. "It feels good, I guess, but I wonder how it feels to be so small." "I'm not small," she touched his nose. "I'm perfectly average." "To me, you're small, girlie," he chuckled, taking her hands in his. "Look at these small hands, these small arms." He kissed her hands. She giggled and he put his arms around her. "Well, I'm happy to be small. This way you can take me in your arms entirely." She kissed him. "What do you like most about me?" she added. "Physically?" "Yeah. Your freckles, I think," he answered. "They're strange, but I love them." He kissed her on the cheek. "And you?" "Your eyes," she said, without hesitation. "They're too blue, almost surreal. I feel like I could drown in them." "You know, I've heard once that people with blue eyes see better in the dark." "Really? Is that true?" "I don't know, but it'd be logical. All my family lived in the Underhive and we all have blue eyes, so maybe it is true." It was the first time that he talked about his family. "You never told me about your family. How were your parents? You had a lot of siblings?" And Balik's jaw tightened. "I'd rather not talk about it," he said. "But I'm interested. You never talk about them." "The Guard's my family now," he simply said. She didn't answer. He must have had a hard childhood. She had never seen a hive, but if she believed the way he talked about it, it wasn't a good place to live. Maybe his parents were violent. Maybe they were members of a gang, or maybe they were dead, like Magda's mother. Even though she hadn't lived the same life he had, she had been through a lot too. She would understand, but he always refused to talk about his past. That was quite annoying. Like he didn't trust her. She sighed. "I'd like to know more about your past," she finally said. "For example, I've always wanted to know how you got all those scars." He sighed. "I'm a soldier. I've got scars. His tone was even. She could feel that he had tensed up as well. But I mean, there must be a story behind them. No, there's no story, he replied coldly, standing up. Why was he so difficult? But she decided to worm it out of him. Leave me alone. What about this big scar? This one definitely has a story, she asked, her fingers tracing the scar across his chest. He rejected her hands. Come on, why don't you tell me? I said there's no story. Bailiks spat suddenly, pushing Magda, who fell to the ground. You don't understand. I don't want to talk about it. Don't make me talk about it. He was furious. Magda had never seen him like that, and she was afraid. His hands were trembling as he paced in the barn. There's war out there, he shouted, turning towards her, his face red. People die. I've seen things. I've done things that I don't want to recall. Don't you understand? Don't ask me about it, ever. Magda couldn't answer. She was frozen, still on the ground, watching him with scared eyes. He tried to calm down, taking his head in his shaking hands. When he looked at her, he suddenly seemed to realize that he had pushed her. I'm sorry I scared you, he said in a weird voice, taking her into his arms. Are you hurt? Magda shook her head, but felt the tears coming to her eyes. I'm so sorry, he said, his voice soothing. I didn't want to scare you. It's just, here's the safest place I've ever been. You have no idea how it is out there. I don't want you to think of it. I'm sorry, Magda said. The tears rained down her cheeks. I shouldn't have asked. Don't worry, it's nothing, he whispered, caressing her hair. Wait, he said, letting her go. Here, take this. He put something around her neck, one of his dog tags. But you need it, she complained, sobbing. I'll explain that I lost it. Will give me another one, he said. This way, I'll always be with you, even when I'm gone. She watched the Aquila on the dog tag, wiping her tears. She had wanted to have one, to own a small part of him, but now she wanted more. You don't have to go, she begged. You can stay here. You're asking me to desert? He asked, surprised. Yes, you can stay here. You'll find a job at the farm. I can't do that. You know it, he sighed. If I desert, they'll try to kill me. They won't offer me a job. Then you can work at the tavern. My father will hire you, she said, her voice full of hope. He could stay. Yes, that was the best solution. She was sure of it. That'd make him a criminal. I can't do that. But you have to. You can't go back to this horrible life. My place is not here. I'm an imperial guard. I serve the emperor, he argued. You can serve him here too, Magda said. No, I can't. I can't desert, he sighed. I don't want you to die, she cried, looking at his deep blue eyes. That seemed to confuse him. Don't worry, he said, after a short pause, embracing her. I won't die. You don't know that, she complained. Yes, I do. I won't die because I have a reason to live now, he said, kissing her forehead. Then stay. She could feel the tears coming back. I told you I can't, he sighed. I wish I could. I wish I could stay with you forever, but I can't. Bailiks, she whispered. She had to tell him now. He had to know. That maybe he'd change his mind and stay. I think I'm pregnant. Bailiks froze. His mouth opened in stupor. He tried to say something, but nothing came out. I'm a week late, she explained. I've been nauseated recently. It could be anything else, he said in disbelief. No, there are other signs too. I asked Annalise and she said there's no doubt, she answered. He didn't look happy, and she could understand why. Now he had to choose between his duty as a soldier and his own child. You will stay, won't you? Magda begged. You can't leave me alone, not with your child. Well, I have to think about it. That'd be a reason to stay for sure, but I'd be a criminal. Please stay, our child is in need of a father, you can't go, she pleaded. But I can't desert, he exclaimed. I have to think of it. Give me 1 week. In 1 week I'll answer you, I promise. He had no other choice but to wait. Thanks for watching the video. I would love to hear your thoughts on my work in the comment section. And if you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like. I'm currently working on getting the series and all of the future series a week ahead on Patreon. Links will be in the description if you're interested in that. Alright, that's all I have for today. Enjoy your sleep, and good night.